One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
I always feel like I'm in prison when it announces that it's recording our phone call.
That sounds like that.
Maybe we are, Anita.
Okay, should we introduce our guest who's also in prison with us?
Yes. Hello, guest, cellmate.
Cell block number 5. Tell us your name.
My name is Shirley, and I'm from South Africa. I'm not sure if you've had anybody from South Africa before, or Africa.
I think this is the first from South Africa.
Yes, we have interviewed somebody from Africa. It was a very challenging interview
Because of Wi-Fi.
Internet connection. Yeah. We asked a question and it would take about 6 to 12 business days for her to hear us and then for her to respond. So
No, I think my signal's good. I'm okay. You should be able to. I should be responding within a few minutes, seconds.
Excellent. Shirley, you're from South Africa. Where in South Africa?
Johannesburg. So
Okay, good. That's the only place I think I know.
Did you grow up there?
Yes, I did. Yeah, grew up here. My husband didn't. He grew up in Durban, which is about 5 hours. It's on the coast. So he grew up there and moved up here and met me almost straight away. And yeah, that's where it all began in 1994.
What's your husband's name?
His name is Adrian.
Adrian.
Well, actually, his name's Adrian, but his nickname was Nobby. So,
Nobby?
it's very
Is there a story behind this?
Well, no, that's the weird thing. He went to boarding school, and I think his brother was called that, and he just was called Nobby. So his family called him Adrian, but we met him as Nobby. So I might refer to him as Nobby or Aid, but yeah. So yeah, he was a very funny guy. He was very funny. He suited the name. He suited the name Nobby. He was bubbly, lots of fun.
I have a very important question.
Okay.
Was it Nobby, Knobby, or Nobby?
Nobby. It's not the Knobby.
Okay.
It's Nobby.
And is his last name like Knobs or something? That's such a weird. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a South African thing, and we're the weird ones.
I think British. I think there's a Nobby I think there's a British connection there. I don't know. Anyway, his name was Nobby, and that's what we called. And my nickname is Goo, so it all gets very dodgy. We would go out and people would introduce us as Nobby and Goo.
I like this. I want a different name than just my name. Yeah, maybe you can give us, me and Anita, some names for
It
ourselves.
kind of sounds like Top Gun a little bit. Like those are their call signs, Nobby and Goose. I guess Goose was in Top Gun.
So we were quite a fun a couple because just to be introduced, everybody would laugh. So that's how we were kind of, would walk into a room. So Nobby and Goo have arrived. So yeah.
So you met each other in 1994. How old were you?
I was 22 and he was 25. We got engaged in 95 and married in 96. Yeah, and life was good. I mean, he was a software engineer, so he was working. He'd just come up to Johannesburg to get a job, and that's where I met him. And when I met him, and I was working at a private flight department, arranging flights for private jets for a company. So yeah, we had about 4 years of just having fun. We bought a house. We lived the real like idyllic sort of honeymoon phase. We traveled. We had so much fun and then had children. I mean, which is not, I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but
And
it
that
did kind
ruined
of
that.
slow it all down. But yeah, so then we had my daughter, I had my first daughter when I was in 1999 and my second one in 2001. So they are 26 and 24 now. Yeah, so life was fun. We had a lot of fun and we were best friends. I mean, he was just the funniest guy. He had such a quick wit and he was just, we laughed. I laughed for almost 30 years that I knew him. I mean, he was very funny. Um, and wouldn't go to the doctor or look after his health. So that's where the problem started was he had this at 23 he watched his mother die of pancreatic cancer, so he was so traumatized by this whole cancer story that I think he believed if he did go to a doctor he would be told he was going to die. So he just never did anything. He just lived his life. He was a red meat eating guy, a beer drinking guy, and that's what he did. He played golf, which eventually stopped. I'm a big gymmer. He never got into any kind of exercise, which was always a bit of an issue. So it must have been about 2010, one of the dads at school at 40, early 40s, dropped dead from a heart attack. So all the mothers started panicking, saying, go for health. We all started saying to husbands, you have to go and be checked. This guy was healthy and he just died. So I managed to pressure him into going to the doctor. So he must have been early 40s. And my biggest concern was the smoking because he was a smoker. And I thought, oh, the doctor's going to give him. And the doctor said, that's the least of our worries right now. You've got a fatty liver. Your liver is not good. And we need to work out what's causing this liver issue. So he said, do you drink? And he said, I do. And at that stage, he was working at an investment bank, a very high stress level. And it was very much after work, there was a bar and it was a very drinking culture. So after work, they'd have drinks and he just increased his only beer. He only drank beer. He never drank anything else. He just drank, which everybody always thinks, oh, well, it's not as bad as hard spirits. So he was drinking quite a lot. And the doctor just said, look, we need to stop alcohol for a month and let's see if then we can determine if that's causing these, what was it? Oh gosh, I remembered all the terms, ALT, ALS, the liver enzyme story. So yeah. So
What is it, Anita?
It's ALT, ALST, ASLT. Now I can't remember either.
ASMR.
ASMR, BLT, FMLA. AT&T. Okay, yes, we get the picture. I was so worried that you're going to say he went to the doctor and they were like, "You have cancer," and so his.
exactly that was the thing. He didn't have, everything actually was fine. It was just this liver. So he stopped
Okay.
alcohol for a full month and he went back and they were absolutely amazed. They just said the levels have dropped. That's what's causing it. Clearly you have to stop drinking. Well, the doctor kind of said you can drink, but you have to drink in moderation. So you need to have 6 beers on a weekend instead of the six he was having, or even 12 he was having on a Friday night. So that was fine, and he actually did quite well for about 6 months. He didn't drink as much, and the levels were good. And then, of course, as life crept on, we got to just before 2020. Yeah, actually, it was 2020. He actually fell down our stairs. We had a separate little office where he would go outside. We called it outside, but it's where he worked. And he was an online gamer. He played role-playing games, World of Warcraft and Diablo. And he was one of those real nerdy gaming guys. So he was on his way. What he would do, I would go to bed and he'd go outside and play his game till 2 in the morning. He was one of those people. So he slipped down the stairs and hurt his back really badly. I thought he'd broken something. And of course, no, he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. Well, by day 2, he wasn't fine. And he said to me, you need to take me to the emergency room. So I was like, oh. So I took him. And the doctor did they did all the x-rays and he was actually fine. They're just badly bruised. But she looked at his feet and she said, what's going on? And his feet the veins were, I mean, the circulation obviously wasn't good. And now I realize that she obviously picked up something that was indicating that there was an issue. So she insisted on running all the bloods. Of course, he's screaming, no. And I was saying, run the bloods, run the bloods. And it came up, this liver wasn't good. So she said, she walked back in and she said, do you need help with this? Because this is not good. I think the levels at that stage were 100 and something. And I think you've got to be 30 or something ridiculous. And it was way too high. So he said, no, he's fine. He'll sort it out. And she said, well, please, I'm going to send all your results to this doctor, that he's wonderful in this. He's going to help you make an appointment. So I said, I will do that. So the whole of the next week, I said to him, let's go. And he wouldn't. He kept saying, no, my back's too sore, I can't drive. I said, I'll drive you. And it became such a thing. And of course, then COVID hit. So that was his excuse not to go, because going to doctors during COVID he just didn't. So then our government had a wonderful plan of banning alcohol. So as soon as our lockdown started in March.
What?
Wait. Yeah. Didn't everyone learn from the US's attempt with prohibition
when COVID
and the cigarettes? Oh, that's the other thing. They banned cigarettes. You couldn't buy cigarettes or alcohol at all.
Just because of the pandemic, or this had kind of been in the works before the pandemic?
No, it's purely pandemic.
That's like the worst idea. That's like, you have to stay home and you can have no fun also.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and all those things have substances in there that will cause withdrawals.
Exactly. So it was actually dangerous. It was dangerous. But so we knew this was coming. So everyone rushed to the bottle stores and bought as much alcohol as they could. I mean, it was crazy. So we stood in a line for hours. Anyway, so we stocked up and we thought the lockdown was going to be 3 weeks.
Of course.
It went from March till June, alcohol was banned. And he was actually okay, because obviously he drank it all and we ran out. So he didn't have any issues. He didn't have any issues with a withdrawal, because at that stage, he'd been drinking every night anyway. So it actually was okay. And we lost my dad, not to COVID, but he passed from other health complications, alone in hospital in June. So that was horrific. And so from COVID, things started getting, he was working remotely anyway before COVID. So business was actually good. He was working really well, and he was really motivated and doing well. But I think must have been in about 21, because I got COVID and then they thought I was going to die, but I didn't die. So then I actually slept in the office, isolated because we got a bed there. I slept in this office. Yeah.
So I'm super curious, because I want to know kind of what life was like during COVID lockdown for you in South Africa, and to compare it to kind of like what we had going on here. Was it similar? Like, was it just you had to stay home? Was it?
Yeah, it was very, and masks. We wore masks for years. You weren't allowed to walk anywhere without a mask. Couldn't go into any shops without a mask. In fact, I think it was even till 22. We were wearing masks long after you guys were told. So it was we were incredibly strict and incredibly up until the June it was really bad. I mean, we weren't allowed to do anything, go anywhere. So that was hard, because when my dad was rushed to hospital, we couldn't even get in to see him.
Couldn't go in to see him.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast,
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes! Thanks, guys! Back to our regularly scheduled program.
They phoned us and said that he's not doing well, and by the time we got there, he had already passed, and they let us in. But yeah, it was horrible. It was terrible. I mean, everybody experienced.
Did COVID become it came really politicized here? Did you guys experience that there, or was it not? That was everybody in it together?
Yes, yeah, no, I think we were. I think we were
Okay.
in it together. Everybody was quite committed to trying to just stay safe and look after each other. So, I mean, my mom lives in a retirement village, and they locked them in. It was actually a bit horrific. They locked all the grannies in. It was terrible. I was passing through the gate, doing her shopping for her. So it was really hard. It was hard because people were alone, you know. So we actually had a really nice time at home because my kids were home, and it was actually in a way maybe for us it was good because we really connected and we did a lot of things as a family, and it was maybe a positive thing. But then I think before that he'd been traveling to Cape Town, which is another city on the coast where he was doing a lot of work. So obviously that all stopped, and I think then he became very a bit of a recluse. This wonderful outgoing person who just loved life suddenly started withdrawing. And if I look back now, I realize that the liver does some interesting things besides run your entire body. It affects you. I mean, I didn't even realize what the liver does. I mean, your liver does everything for you, and you have to look after it. So I think, and it's a slow decline, liver disease or cirrhosis. It takes. So I think 2020, it was probably the beginning of it. We probably could have reversed it then, but he needed to stop drinking, which he only increased. And there's a backstory to this. This is what I really want to talk about, is that addiction is something that there's a reason for an addiction. And I think people that say, I mean, what was Nancy Reagan who said, just say no. I mean, that's not, it's an addiction is something that something has caused that addiction. And he was self-medicating because when he was age 10 to 12, his father sexually abused him.
Oh,
So
no.
it was horrific. He told me when I met him that this is what had happened. And I come from a family of, I mean, I just didn't understand how this could happen. And kind of, he kept saying, I'm fine, I don't need therapy, I've dealt with it, it won't define me, and he did. I mean, it didn't define him for the first 45 years. At 55, it killed him. So, because the psychiatrist that I spoke to while he was dying and afterwards said to me that it was definitely a PTSD situation where he suddenly had dealt with it, and by then he had self-medicated with drinking. So yeah, I think it's given me a new empathy towards people who are addicts, because a lot of the time, there's always something that is put them on that path. And he should have had therapy. He should have had medication. I think he was also ADHD. He had lots of issues that he managed to function and live a life thanks to me and my family, because he comes from an extremely dysfunctional family. Even now, it was all kind of swept under the carpet. Nobody really spoke about it. I've told his siblings that their father killed my husband, basically. I mean, it sounds horrific, but I told them because he did. What he did to him was not, no child should have to ever go through anything like that. So, you know, the fact that he was such a successful person in his life, and we created a family that was so filled with love, and we really had and my family, my parents basically adopted him. I mean, he was their child, and so for the fact that he overcame it. But you know, at 55, that was he didn't quite. I think that the decline. So now, yeah, COVID, we kind of limped along afterwards, and then he died in January 24, so it's 20 months next week. And why do I still count the months? When do you stop counting the months?
It's like a toddler.
It sounds closer. You know, if I say 2 years almost, it'll be 2 years in January. That sounds so far. If I say 20 months, I feel like it wasn't so long ago. And people sort of, if you say 2 years, then people go, oh, well, you shouldn't be having bad days and falling over. And last night I howled, you know, had that absolute collapse. So January 24, he died. So my girls didn't know. He never told my children, our children, my children. See, I'm already saying my children. They are still our children. He never told them what his father did. They knew he had a strained relationship with him. And he said to me, so in 23, his father dies in the January, and he said to me, in fact, he raised this before his father died. He said, my biggest concern is, what are people going to say when I don't want to go to the funeral, when I'm not upset that my father's dead? What are people going to say? And I always said to him, but it doesn't matter what they say. I mean, you could just say I didn't have a relationship with him. But he suddenly had this thing in his head in about April, 3 or 4 months later, to tell our kids what his dad had done. And they'd both moved out and they were sharing a flat together. So he said to me, I said to him, look, I'll support you if you want to tell them. Maybe it'll give them a deeper understanding of who you are as a person. I'm grateful now he did tell them, because I would have had to tell them afterwards. So we went over to their flat to do some DIY, because when things break, they phoned their dad, come and do the drilling and the fixing, and he would go across there. And funny enough, that day, both their boyfriends weren't visiting, and it was just the four of us. And he whispered to me and said, should I tell them? And I was so taken aback. I just kind of said, well, I'll do what you need to do. And he told them. And he told them not all the details, but he told them what he had done, what his father had done to him. And my girls are very strong. I'm very proud of they're strong, empowered, independent women. He raised them to be, I mean, my oldest is an engineer. Jess is my youngest is doing her master's and her PhD in history. He said to them, you can do anything that a man can do, and you are. So they were very, when he told them, I mean, it was horrific. Jess actually said, if he wasn't dead, I would have got into my car, driven the 6 hours and killed him myself. So it was horrific. And I think that is the trigger. So from April, May, when he told them, his decline then was so rapid. His personality changed. And I realize now that it was when the liver can't work, the toxins just go straight to your brain, and you become this. He was aggressive, not towards me, but just an aggressive driver. He just became aggressive and just became irritable and slept a lot. I mean, I'd get home from gym at 9, 10 in the morning, he'd still be in bed. And I mean, that was so much stress because now he wasn't earning, he billed per hour. The money wasn't coming in. I worked with him, so I didn't have, so there was so much stress on me. And then this decline just got worse and worse. Started shaking, which I realized now was I thought it was, I said to him, I think you've got Parkinson's. I mean, it was these hands would just tremble. He started forgetting things, saying strange, but just being strange, saying strange things. And eventually, that November, I said, oh no, it was December, I said to him, if you don't go to the doctor, I'm either going to take you to the emergency room or I'm going to phone an ambulance to get you into and take you. And he said, okay, he'll go tomorrow. So, and then he did the weirdest thing. He started phoning my family, my children, his friends, and said, I'm going to hospital. I'm taking myself to hospital tomorrow. And I think it was this whole accountability thing. He knew if he told them, he'd have to go. So that Monday, I literally bundled him I forced him. It was horrific because he was in he didn't want to go. He said, if you go to hospital, you die. That was all he could say. And when we got there, they did a whole lot of because he'd had blood in his stool. That's what sort of triggered it. So they did a whole colon thing, and they found things in his colon, which were, the doctor just said, that's the least of our worries. The liver is basically stuffed. But no one ever told me he was going to die. No one ever said he's going to die. He was put in hospital, lay there, eventually went to ICU for 2 weeks and just turned yellow. His eyes were yellow. His skin was yellow, like mustard yellow. It was, and he was having a whale of a time. He wasn't in pain. He was babbling away. He was talking to his dead mother. He was, which is a bit strange. I think she might have been. I think she was waiting. It was very strange.
What were they saying? Do you remember?
She was saying, "You look like mustard."
And he's saying, "Mom, look, I look like mustard."
He said to her, oh, these are my children. Meet my children. And he introduced her to, and Amy and Jess were like, Mom, Dad has now officially lost it. No, it was, yeah. So he didn't have any pain, which I think is the body's way of, and also he didn't really know what was going on. He was like in a bit of so maybe he was saved of being told you're going to die. And I mean, the doctors were very, I think that's another thing that I feel. He didn't die from a disease that people acknowledge. I feel like they kind of said, oh, well, he did this to himself. He kind of deserves it almost. I had that, I even had a thing with one of the nurses the one day and said, we are being judged, I think. He's being judged. Let him just lie there and die because he's done this to himself. And that was my biggest thing, is that they didn't know the psychological. The one doctor said to me, there's something more to this. There's something psychological. Why is he in the States? And I said, because his father abused him. I mean, you need to realize that he didn't choose this. He didn't choose this. It wasn't his fault. You know, if he'd had a normal childhood, maybe he still would have turned to alcohol. But, you know, it wasn't a choice to harden his liver. You know?
It's really interesting. We've heard that from other guests whose partners have died of, liver disease of some sort. I mean, we had one whose liver got killed because of a medication for ringworm he was taking, which was like absolutely no fault of his own. And people still treated him like he was some sort of a terrible person who had caused his own demise. But livers are funny because, if your kidneys aren't working, we can give you dialysis. If your pancreas aren't working, we can give you insulin. There's no kidney fix unless you can get a kidney transplant, but there's lots of things that go into that. So you can't like get through it for a while.
Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow-in-the-dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my "Be Nice, My Husband is Dead" to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it. But you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right? Anita, what else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork, because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app, which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com.
The stigma attached to it. And my friends, very few people know the full story. When they say, I told them it was liver disease, because if you mention cirrhosis is the straight away when you say cirrhosis, people think of a falling down drunk person in a gutter, basically a bum who drinks a bottle of whiskey a day and beats up his wife. You know what I mean? That's almost it's like a preconceived idea, and that's not who he was. He wasn't and we never saw him drunk. He wasn't a drunk. He just couldn't manage to drink 12 beers and still be standing up. I mean, surprising. Actually, not at the end because his body had given up. But he wasn't hiding his alcohol. We did argue about it. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing we did argue about, because it's something I raised all the time. You need to look after yourself. You need to walk your children down the aisle. I mean, those are my kids. My oldest daughter is totally, that's her. She wants the big white wedding, and she hasn't got a dad now, and she begged him. They begged him. And he said, no, he's sorting it out. He's going to go to therapy. He just needed some therapy and possibly some kind of anxiety medication just to help him cope. And he didn't ask for it. And you can't force someone to do it.
Even with all of those interventions, it's not a guarantee. I mean, like you were saying before, addiction is not just a willpower thing. So it's maybe easy to be like, if we just would have done this, then it wouldn't have happened. But I mean, he could have gotten therapy and anxiety medication and still,
would have done exactly
not been able to.
I believe now that maybe my life there's the before and the after, and maybe I'm only 54. I think I'm still young. I'm fit. I'm healthy. Maybe it's my second life. It is my second life, but I've done in the last year. Okay, so he dies. He dies on the 9th of January. Horrifically, they phone me at 7 and say, get you now, because he is not doing well. And he always said to me the worst thing was watching his mother for 5 hours take her last breath, because he would think she would take her breath and then they'd think it's the last one, then she'd breathe again. And he said that was horrific. So I phoned the kids, both their boyfriends were with them, thank goodness. And I said, just get them to the hospital. They lived quite far, so they had to get there. It took them longer. And I got there and I just said to him, you just wait. He was not very lucid, but I said, just please wait for the kids. Because Amy, my oldest, would not have coped if she couldn't be in there to say goodbye. But he did. It was 20 minutes. So he actually saved us that pain of watching him go. It took 20 minutes and he was gone, and that was it. So, yeah, so my life imploded. It all fell apart. And my girls weren't living with me, so they moved back in for a little while. But after a couple of weeks, I told them to leave, because I actually felt like I needed to be on my own, and I knew I had to do this, and I had to do it, and I did, and I survived. I don't know, those first, the first I'd say 6 months is a blur, an absolute blur. But I've had a very interesting 20 months. I have traveled. I went to Bali recently on my own, which was a solo trip, which was amazing. My mom and I did, he'd actually bought us tickets before he died. He bought us tickets for the Chelsea Flower Show in London. So we did that. We weren't going to go, but then we went. So we did that in the May that he died. And then in the June, I went to the Seychelles with his brother. It was his 60th birthday. He took us all to the Seychelles, which was lovely. And then in the September, this time last year, I went to India and did a yoga. I went with some people I didn't know. I just vaguely knew my yoga teacher at the time and met everybody at the airport. There were 7 of us, and we went for 2.5 weeks to India. And then this last, in June now, I decided to it was over his birthday. I decided his birthday is the 4th of July, American Independence
How
Day.
very American of him.
So for that, I took myself off I went to Singapore, then I went to Bali, and I spent 2.5 weeks doing yoga. I stayed in a place called the Yoga Barn. And then I went down to the coast, and I sipped cocktails and rode my bike, hired a bike every morning and rode my 10Ks on the beachfront listening to music. And yeah, I did a lot of healing. That was just amazing. Bali was incredible. And so yeah, in this year, I sold my car, I sold my house. I've just moved into a slightly smaller house with my 2 cats and my 2 dogs. And yeah, so I feel like this is a new chapter, and there's space. Oh, Mel, you'll love this, for my baby grand. He bought me before he died. I'm actually busy doing my music degree at the moment. I've got 2 modules left. I write today in 2 weeks. I write one, and the last one, and I'll have my bachelor's of music. So it's taken me years to get it, but I'm finally going to finish. So his dream for me was a baby grand piano. I always had upright pianos, keyboards. I've got guitar, I've got everything. But the baby grand was like a dream for him, actually, more than me. And he ordered it. It had to be restored, and he went into hospital before they delivered it. And by the time they delivered it, he was so out of it, and I was just going, the piano. So he never heard me play it, and he never saw it. So it was really hard to play.
This is wild because we have a widow friend. We have not interviewed her yet. I know this because she reached out. She also, her husband had a baby grand and had it restored, and now she's a widow. So I think you guys need to be friends. I hope you're listening. So is your instrument in school, is it the piano, or is it more like a general music degree? How does it work in South Africa?
I am a pianist, but it's a general bachelor's of music. So it's been a lot of theory, and then we've done a lot of sound production, which I've loved. I mean, I didn't know anything. I did it at school 30 years ago. So I played the piano, and it was all classical. Now I'm working on Reaper, and I've got all these. I've even got my little MIDI keyboard, and I've had such fun sound production and writing jazz. I mean, you're a jazz musician. I mean, I'm classical. I've learned so much. So now, once the theory, these 2 modules are very theory. The one is I'm doing popular music, so it's quite intense theory on. At the moment, we're talking about gender and the diva, and so it's interesting, yeah.
So, widow brain, we talk about that a lot, and how our brain can feel like sludge after we have the death of our person. You've played piano before, right? Like 30 years ago. It's not a new instrument, but you are learning all these new things. How has it been for you to learn all this stuff and be so freshly widowed?
Well, last year I did 6 modules. I don't know. I did 3 in the first semester and 3 in the second semester, and I don't know how. I still can't believe I did it. I think it was a good distraction. It gave me something to do every day that I could throw myself into it. And I would sit up at night. When he was alive, he'd say, "Oh, come and have," like I'd have to have dinner with him, or we'd go and watch TV together. So last year, I just sat up and I wrote essays and I composed music, and I think it was my savior. It saved me. It actually saved me.
Okay.
I'm doing it for him because he was my biggest supporter to get this degree. He said to me, I mean, I was for late. I mean, I'm 54 now, so I was 50. I mean, who does a degree? You know, like I'm probably the oldest. I don't know how. I don't even want to go to the graduation because I'm probably the oldest person there. But anyway, I don't care. But he said to me, "You're going to do it. You've always wanted to do it. Let's do it." And he really pushed me. So the fact if I didn't finish it, I know he's going to haunt me. I just know it. He's like, oh.
Hey,
And my tuner was here the other day and he broke a string. His spanner fell and he said, "Oh, I think that was Adrian." I said, "I think so too." What's
I've
messing
had
with my string?
I've had things haunt my piano before too. It's crazy. So I think because you play the piano and you've learned how to do recording stuff, you should record something and send it to us just for fun.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got my confidence levels. I must say, this is what that's taught me confidence. And you know, funny enough, him dying has given me so much more confidence in myself, in in all aspects. My music, believing in myself, and I've started trying to build a community here because all the podcasts I listen to, I listened to Rosie at Widowed AF. I've been interviewed on her podcast. I listen to you. There's another American pod. There's nothing in South Africa that. So I've started a little Facebook page that I'm wanting to maybe form into a podcast. It's called The Upside Down, A Widow's World, because that's how my life felt. So I'm the upside down widow. And I'm just posting on Facebook and trying to get people to engage. And I'm slowly building up a following. So it might be a book because suddenly I'm writing. I don't know. I've never written in my life. I'm suddenly writing like incredible stuff, I think. And I don't know if I can put music, but it's amazing. I've got all these new skills. So maybe him dying wasn't such a bad thing. I mean, that sounds horrific, but
It sucks, but it's brought you good things.
it has. And I'm writing so many. I'll just sit at night and write stuff. I think I'm going to write. I'm going to put it into a book because there's just so much to say, and it's from sort of poetry to yeah, music. I mean, I don't know. I've just the confidence I've got, and to go on a solo trip across the world. I mean, I had to fly. I flew to Singapore by myself, got myself to my hotel, then went off to Bali, sat and had dinner by myself, had every breakfast on my own, looking at all these couples. The second resort was a bit dodgy because they were all couples and families, and they were all sitting there, and I was sitting by myself, you know, and I thought, you know what? Let them stare. I don't care. Let them stare. You know, I'm alone, and that's fine. And so, yeah, I think the confidence has been a plus. But the music saved me. My dogs and my music have saved me. My dogs have also been I don't know what I would have done without these stupid, they really are stupid.
Right? Right.
They're just
Yes.
fluffy little fluff balls, but they're so sweet. And they just, you know, they just know when I need them. So, yeah. So,
Shirley, I'm wondering about your yoga because there's like two different ways to practice yoga. There's like, hey, I just need to do some bendy, stretchy stuff. And then there's kind of like not religious, but kind of like more deep religious aspect. Do you do just the stretchy part or do you do like the yogi part? And do you think that's helped?
the yogi part, the exercise is a byproduct for me.
Okay.
Gym, my gym is I do lots of other high cardio impact kick. I mean, all those. So my yoga is very much more of a spiritual thing. I spent in India, I spent a week in an ashram, which is, that was hectic. I confronted a lot. There was a lot of silence, a lot of meditation, it's a very simple life. You don't speak during meals. A lot of reflection. We were on the banks of the Ganges. We had ceremonies of dipped ourselves into the Ganges. It was the clean part of the Ganges, but amazing. It was amazing. So the yoga for me is, even in Bali now, it was very, I did as many different forms of yoga as I could because they offered so many different things. So I did fly where you literally hang from straps and do all sorts of, it was such fun. To the serious Ashtanga, to yin yoga, to a lot of meditation, a lot of sound therapy. So that was my healing, definitely healing for me. And even live, I mean, we had live musicians in a yoga room and in this outdoor Bali, and it was the humidity. We were sweating. The most dishy instructor. I mean, it was I went to a few of his classes. He was lovely, but he was just amazing. And then this live musician sitting with his guitar and chanting and playing the flute, and he had his laptop, and it was just incredible. So here I was positioned right in front of him, so I was trying to see what program he was using and what he was playing, and trying to see everything. But it was amazing. So the yoga, yeah, the yoga's been a huge part of my journey. I've been doing it for years, but I've definitely accelerated it with with him dying. I mean, it's just become my sort of sanctuary almost, yeah.
So you mentioned that the podcast you listen to, they're from the UK or from the US, and that you're building a Facebook group for your community, basically. Do you know very many widows in South Africa in person?
No, I've got one friend that lost her husband. I mean, she's lost her husband 30 years ago. So, no, I don't. I don't have, no, and I don't know where to, my friends I've got the most amazing friends, but they just don't, they don't get they try, but it's that I have in fact, a very good school friend of mine has had a very similar situation, and she lives in the UK. So her and I talk a lot. She's really the only person that understands, that gets it. And my one friend who lost her husband, but she was in her 30s when she lost him. So also a bit different. Because I think my life now, I've had my family, I've had my children, I've had my life, and now I kind of feel like this is the second, it really is a second chapter, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't stop the missing him any less. I mean, some days it's just, I go from being absolutely fine to, I don't even know. I don't know what triggered me yesterday. What was the trigger? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think that the book you said that you are potentially going to write and the podcast you were potentially going to start, I think you should do it, because that's what Anita and I did, and we knew each other and maybe like a couple randos on Instagram, and then people found us, and so maybe that would be something that would bring more of the South African community to you.
Exactly, trying to help South African women, because we have a very diverse culture here, lots of different people, and I think we have generally a very caring community. I mean, people are so I think it would do, I don't know, upside down. Here we go. let me get this degree out the way. Once I've passed, so if I next middle of October, I still have to unpack my house. I've still got everything all over the show, but so next year I am going to concentrate.
Write your theme song for your final project, and then when you're done and you've unpacked your house, then there you go. Next step.
I think that we should come visit you, and we can have a conference in South Africa. We can have a mini. We can't call it Camp Widow because that's trademarked, but we can have a Widow We Do Now South African conference.
A Widow We Do Now upside down version. How about that? It's perfect. Instead of down under, upside down. Oh, okay. Aaron and Liz, come on over from Australia. You can have your one South African friend. There will be at least 5 of us. It's okay.
Yeah, I tell you, really, your podcast, just listening to the two of you, I feel like I'm sure everybody says this to you though, but because you have been such a big part of my life, I feel like I do know you, and your voices just, I mean, I do fall asleep listening to you, and then I think, oh, I've got to finish that. And then when I do, if I'm walking around doing housework or washing, whatever, then I'd listen to you guys, and it's just amazing how listening to people's stories just helps so much. And
it's weird.
It's weird.
Why?
Someone said to me the other day, isn't it making it worse for you listening to all these stories? It doesn't. It makes me feel better, and I don't know why. Why listening to someone else's tragedy? Is it almost, like...
Is it a misery loves company situation? Not sure if that's healthy or not. You mentioned before we started recording, though, that do you want to tell us the reason while we're actually recording, why you wanted to come onto the podcast?
Yes. My biggest reason is maybe to take the stigma out of addiction. And the judgment and the feeling like you've done something wrong. And I think as a widow of an addict, I do feel the guilt is you feel like you should have done more. And I think that, as you said, Anita, is that if he'd had the therapy, if he'd had the pills, who knows if it would have helped him. So I now have to accept that it wasn't my fault. I gave him a life that he probably wouldn't have had if he hadn't have met me. I mean, so I have to be grateful for that. And that was his time, I suppose. I mean, it was just, so I do think that, it's the stigma. It's the stigma. And don't judge. I really feel like if I tell my friends the truth, they will judge me. And maybe I must stop and I must just or judge him. I don't want him to be judged because he was so wonderful. And he wasn't a horrible man. He wasn't abusive. He was amazing. So I don't want people to judge him.
That's one thing where it's like, now that there are podcasts and more niche communities that are accessible for people all over the world, it's so interesting, I think, because these topics that maybe were not discussed at all, maybe in families, now people are talking about it. And it's interesting to watch the reactions because, of course, the people that have lived through it are like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then it brings community and solidarity to them. And then the people that maybe don't have experience with it, they do judge. And so I think no matter what, somebody is going to judge.
Yes.
It's like people judge us because we have a widow podcast, right? Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, but guess what? Nobody was talking about it hardly at all before. And those people that are judging it have maybe not been through it or, so I think that part is hard because of the judgment. First of all, you've lived through it. You've lived through things. That's hard enough. And then putting yourself out there and talking about it. So it's a really brave thing to do. So if you do choose to do it, we, of course, support you. And I have a question for you, too, about living with somebody with addiction. So you mentioned that there's guilt that maybe you could have helped more. And then you have to, a lot of people that have had a family member with addiction feel those ways. What about, was there ever anger that you dealt with? And if it's like, if he knows that he has these issues and he could get himself to the therapy, he's not doing the therapy, did that make you upset?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. I said to him many times, if you die, I mean, look what you'll leave us. I mean, look what will happen to us. And he was, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. And we did. We fought about that. That's the only thing we ever really fought about was him getting help or just going to the doctor and being told what's wrong. He got such a fright when they first told him, and we knew this liver thing was hanging over us because he was warned, and. So, I don't know, there was a lot of anger, but I've been to a lot of therapy and I've never done therapy before and I'd occasionally go, I just message her and I see her, my therapist is amazing. So I did quite a lot of work at the beginning of the year with her. It took me about a year to go and that helped me work through the anger of him dying and leaving us and my children not having a dad. I'm now a solo parent and I'm not a single parent, but I'm a solo parent. Everything falls on me, everything. And I mean, I know they're grown up and they're independent, but they still depend on me. And that's what I'm most angry with him for, leaving me with my children. And they just don't have a dad. And I had a wonderful father. He died at 81, and he was my biggest support. I wish he knew I was doing this music degree. He died before I did it, and he would have just been so chuffed. And so, I was lucky enough to have a dad that lived for long. And so my girls have been robbed of that. And that made me very angry. But what can I do with the anger? I mean, play my piano harder. I don't know.
Yep. Play some rock or Rachmaninoff. Yeah, those things, we hear that a lot with family members of somebody who lost the battle with addiction, or if their person died by suicide, there's always I don't want the stigma to overcome that this was a good person and I did love this person. And I also wanted to kill him sometimes because because you just want to shake them. You're like, come on, can't you see this? I see it. Why can't you? And that's the hard part. It has to be them and their choice.
He was such a, he was an engineer. He was such a clever man. He was a highly intelligent man who knew what he was doing. He must have known. And I think he hid it from me because I think he was sicker than we thought. I think he was very, he was tired, but he definitely, if I look back, in hindsight, hindsight's an amazing thing. You look back and go, oh, now thinking of all those little things, he didn't do that because he was obviously wasn't feeling well, and he stopped cooking. He used to love cooking and making pasta and making bread. He stopped doing all that, and I realize now that it was like so he knew what was happening. He must have known what was happening. I mean, he was a clever person. So yeah, I don't know what is the answer? I just know now that I have to live, and I've got to do things, and that's why I've traveled. I mean, I've got to start earning money because I can't spend everything. I'm like, I better start, I need to do something next year, and that's fine. But I did the trips. I wanted to go to India. I wanted to go to Bali. And my next trip, I'm thinking maybe Vietnam. I don't know. I'm going to do, there's a retreat over our 30th anniversary in March. I'm probably going to go and do something on my own. And solo travel is amazing. I didn't think I could do it. I saw somebody posted in the widows group the other day saying she had just booked her first solo trip, and she was so nervous. And I just said, you know what? I was also so nervous, but you come back so empowered. You think I can do anything now. I can walk into a restaurant on my own. I'll go and have coffee. I'll go and eat on my own. Whereas last year I could never have done that. So I'm so much braver, so much braver.
Shirley, we just met each other today, but I can honestly say I'm so proud of you. Like I feel this sense of ownership over you and your success somehow. Like you've done such a good job. Mel and I have done such a good job of being your pretend widow fairy godmothers
that talk you to sleep.
Yes, we have no responsibility, but no. You're doing so many amazing things. I mean, the traveling and the going back to school, and it's like your creativity seems to have kind of been opened up, and you're just kind of amazing. Blossoming in these other areas that it's like when we talk about the pine trees where you have to burn down the tree before the seeds are released, and some of those have been released. And so I'm excited to see what you do, because you're just probably going to keep getting cooler, and then she'll be too cool for us.
I know. And it's not even been what, how many months again? 20 months?
20. Yeah.
That's okay. You're winning. You're kicking all of our butts.
The days, but they're getting further apart. So I think I can sort of. And I think moving house was also a big thing for me. Oh, because now this is my little house, and I don't have to do as much maintenance on the garden is smaller, but it's mine. I chose it, and I'm doing everything here that I want to do. I think that's given me a big step forward. I've lived here for 4 weeks tomorrow, 3 weeks. I've been here 3 weeks, and I love it. It's just amazing.
It sounds like you have claimed ownership over a lot of aspects of your life.
Yeah, interesting. And I never realized how intertwined we were. It wasn't a bad thing, but I think we were very codependent, and suddenly we did everything together. We made all the decisions together. We talked about everything. I mean, I talk a lot, but gosh, he talked as well. We used to talk at once, and he was a big talker. There was never silence. We talked constantly. So now I'm all by myself, and I just talk to my dogs, but it's fine. They answer me.
Nobody's tried to get you sent to the loony bin yet, so
you'll do great with your podcast. You just talk. You'll be fine.
It's just talks.
Yeah. The world is now your audience. Well, yes. I think anybody listening that is from South Africa, find Shirley. So tell us again the name of your Facebook widow page.
Okay, it's called The Upside Down, A Widow's World.
And you're on Instagram too?
Yeah, the Upside Down, A Widow's World, yeah.
Okay. And you're in the Widow Wives Club too as well, right? In ours. So Shirley's in there. So if you're already in there, you can find her in there if you've forgotten already that it's upside down. Upside down. Because widow brain. One final question though. Shirley, what is your favorite cheese?
It'll have to be something soft and French, like a camembert or a brie, something squishy. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
Do
my
they have
favorite cheese.
South African cheeses?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of goat's cheese.
Okay.
And yeah, we do have nice South African, very, very nice South African cheese. Yeah,
Okay.
so
When we visit, Anita
Yes,
wants
I'd like
to
to
eat all
try
of
some.
it.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shirley. We always appreciate when people are willing to kind of stick their neck out and tell a story that's sometimes less than comfortable. So I think it will help, and we appreciate you being here with us today.
Oh, and thank you both. You've really saved me. And yeah, I'll carry on listening.
Okay, fantastic. If you'd like to allow us to keep the podcast going, will you check out our Patreon? It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
We always like a nice rating and review. Until we can talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Shirley.
We are just two young widows and one upside down widow, and we're all just trying to figure out widow.
We
Do
now.
Mel,
Yeah,
we have a major announcement to make.
go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know, it's interesting. When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.